I find favorite faces, you know, and I know for a fact I won't touch this guy here because I love him. My name is Scott Jeffries, and I'm a painter. I call myself a soul doodler. You know, I've been doodling my whole entire life. These paintings now, this art now is really what I've been doing since I was a little kid. And I started doodling when I was probably 5 or 6, and I doodled all through elementary school and high school and law school. And because of COVID, I was able to, I got laid off from my job at a law firm, and was kind of like pushed into a dream of being a full-time artist, and I've been doing that for the past 6 or 7 months, and it's been an amazing thing because I've been able to focus on what I've been wanting to do my whole entire life. I don't create any colors. I go to the paint store and I will just grab paints. People give me paints for Christmas. I have old paints that someone gave me, and if I happen to, you know, it will just be whatever's close, right? And that will be the paint that's available. My grandmother was a painter, so I painted for a long time. And you know, when I was 13, we were at my grandmother's funeral, and my mother we were standing in her studio in her basement in the Bronx. And I remember my mother saying to basically out loud, what am I going to do with all this stuff? All her paintbrushes and all her paints and all her, you know, all the materials that she had in the studio. And I was like, I'll take them home with me. And I took them home and I started to paint then. And you know, from that point on, I was always painting just to paint. But the main thing always is try not to have two colors that are the same next to each other. That's my only real rule. It doesn't matter really if it's perfect. You know, everything. There are no mistakes in my art. It's not for somebody else's approval. It's for, you know, it's just for enjoyment. If you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. You know, and I think a lot of artists struggle with, which I don't struggle with, is perfectionism. I never went to art school. You know, I went to law school years ago, and you know, when people talk about my art, sometimes they're like, "You're such a great colorist." You know, I never could thought that, you know, that this color and this color could go together. And for me, I never thought about that. Thank God I didn't know what a color wheel meant. And the fun thing will be is that, you know, when I step back and look at it, I was like, that's interesting, and I'll scratch sometimes and give it some life. My art's meant to be fun, you know, and enjoyed and accessible, you know, and more than anything, you know, I would love people ask me a lot, what does that art mean? You know, what does that mean? And I'm like, what do you see? That's the key. I draw the black lines first, and ultimately just fill in the colors, but no sketching out, no rhyme or reason, just, you know, painting to paint and have fun. I've been painting these faces my whole entire life, you know, and the great thing about what I see, you know, and what you see, it's really a mirror of ourselves. If I'm gonna do a face painting, I'm just gonna paint faces. I'm gonna paint smiles. I'm gonna paint frowns. I'm gonna paint grins. I'm gonna paint whichever way the brush goes. These paintings lately mean something different than they meant years ago. You know, someone had asked me, you know, when George Floyd was killed and all these protests were going on, they wanted me to give them a diversity painting for their kids, right? So something to me, what it meant to me, and these paintings all of a sudden started to become like diversity paintings because they showed that the difference in humanity, the different colors that are in the rainbow, you know, the reds, the yellows, the blues, the browns. At the end of the day, these are protests of, you know, call them protests of smiles more than anything. It just was an amazing process for me to start to think about these things at a deeper level over time. And sometimes they're just, you know, meant to make you smile. You know, there's no like deeper meaning. You know, I paint these fish, you know, and they're just fish. I spend some time with younger people working with them, and I hear all the time they say, oh, I can't do that. I can't paint. I can't do that. I can't. And it's like, and I encourage anyone that's an artist just to stop with that negative thinking, because you're never going to be satisfied. You know, I love my art. You know, my art's not for everybody. You know, but I know one thing: it's for me.